What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Henrik86, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Chris Hillman, NA Literalist, Steve ALM, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Missouri Bear, Liam Nedrick, Dank, Erwin Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Felix Hung, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Tina Baker, Alexander Main, and David Wayne Foster. So a massive shout out to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by several people. Keen Discord server today, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. Very noisy here. There's a neighbour towering the roof. I've got a radio blasting out.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I need to get something straight. In the heliocentric model, they say we live in a closed system, right?
No,
I
open.
can hear you. Hold on a sec. Maybe you can take at the reins just while I close this window.
Sure.
Down.
No, it's a open system, Neil, because if they send their spaceships, it's got to get out. If it was a closed system, then they couldn't get out, and there would be no vacuum of space. Just be atmo.
There was a guy just arguing that it was partly open and partly closed.
Yeah, didn't that happen yesterday with our show? Someone said that, like a little hole in the tire.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what happens with a little hole in the tire, right?
Yeah, but I thought because I could have sworn I heard Zanuck and Rumpus arguing the same thing, that it is a closed system, but it's a little bit open sometimes.
Probabilistic, perhaps. Well, they can argue all they want. They double speak all the time. So why are you surprised that they would say it's closed in order to go with all the proof of that, and then at the same time say it's open so they can go to their outer space?
Yeah.
If it was open, as they say it is, even if they say a little bit, entropy would take place and all the gas would fill the vacuum. See, what they're saying is there's a vacuum out there, and you flat earthers proved that there can't exist next to the Earth's atmos. So we got to figure out a way to lie about it and say that they both can exist. So now this is their compromise.
Yeah, I got you. I always thought that they claimed it was a closed system.
Yeah, how are you going to get out? If it's a closed system, how are you going to get out? How's Voyager getting out? How are they going to the moon?
Yeah, I agree. That's what I always thought our argument was. I didn't know that they're claiming it's an open system.
Yeah, open system. You're causing a load of audio feedback, by the way, Neil. Yeah, it's a contradiction in terms, like most things in the heliocentric system.
Interesting enough, they'd never had to compromise closed door open until Flat Earth dominated with great questions and logical arguments. So now they feel so embarrassed they have to say it's both.
Well, if it's an open system, then you can't have gas pressure then.
Correct. How are you going to get the gas pressure in the first place if it's an open system? The gas is generated at ground level and being released. It goes up and just keeps going. Never bounces back down again to form pressure. If it's an open system, how do you get gas pressure at all? The answer is you don't. That's why they use this red herring argument about the gas pressure gradient. Because if you can argue about the gas pressure gradient, you're working under the assumption that you've already got the gas pressure in an open system, which violates natural law. That's why they want to argue about that all day long.
Yeah, I like it when you guys say, well, how'd you get in the first place?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that part. That I understand very well.
So you can have all the parts, Neil. But when you're talking to a troll or a lifelong glober, whatever you want to call them, and they don't concede on any one of those different ones, they just skip to the next one without conceding. They think that they won somehow, or by avoiding it or sweeping it under the carpet, that they can answer your last question or give a faulty answer. So for me, after experiencing this here on the show, obviously, and then other areas of my life on other subjects, it's like, well, look, until you concede to that, we're not moving.
They'll never
What's the
concede.
point? What's the point? There's just like people coming and saying the Bible says this and the Bible says that. Well, okay, well, if you say the Bible says this and you say the Bible says that, show it to me. And when they go show it to me, it's like a mischaracterization or out of context. And I said, no, here's what it says, and here's 4 more scriptures to back it up. And then they want to jump to the next thing. I said, no, what are you going to do about this one? Are you going to continue this one, or are you going to concede on this one? I mean, you're the one claiming it said it. I just showed you didn't say it. So, or else you're just there all day.
The refusal to concede is obviously not like a human condition, because while it was occurring yesterday with Acum Virus and Chaiki, Mole Man comes on and has a completely, totally different discourse with us in the same show. So it's not just like a human condition that people are just too prideful to concede ever. It's just generally out. I don't think it is. I don't think it is generally the case that people are so prideful that they will refuse to concede like we get here.
No, you're right.
That was very
it's a
frustrating
choice.
yesterday with a Acum Virus.
No, it's a choice, Nathan. It's always a choice. It's not a default position, is I think what you're saying.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but he was
No, I
saying
know.
that we didn't hear what we heard. I heard him say what he said.
Yeah, they just start lying. He's got an agenda. He wants us to define stuff so then he can pull it apart and criticise where he thinks it's wrong, without saying or making as little actual claims himself. But in so doing, he's just ad hominem us. He's just attacking us without addressing any arguments or claiming why. The definition in that case, I forgot what it was actually. Reference frames. Why he's wanting us to define reference frames. There's no reason until we get to the point that it's defined, and then he wants to pull it apart. It's like, no, this is just purely a critique of us. Personal attack, basically. And as there's an argument on the table, it becomes an ad hominem, a logical fallacy.
Well, I remember talking to Virus before, and he said like chocolate said yesterday, I thought you were here to learn, because he always said, I'm just here to learn. I'm just here to learn. Well, that was one thing he said before. And then one time I remember a past show where he knew he was wrong and he wanted to skip the subject. And I said, no, you can't do that. There are ramifications to being wrong. And one is you got to concede. So you're going to concede. And then, of course, he never did.
When I first heard of Coriolis, it was the way your water went down the drain or the toilet. Now I hear how we explain it, and I understand it. When Zanuck or these other people explain it, it leaves me all confused. So I have to lean to the one that I can understand, which is how Nathan and, we all break it down.
Coriolis effect as a description is
sorry.
actually really simple. It's not a complicated subject. And the little GIF on Wiki with the two different rotating platforms, i.e. your vantage point from the non-inertial and your vantage point from the inertial reference frame, has got a, 2-sentence description of the Coriolis effect underneath it. And it's perfectly accurate. It's not actually very complicated.
No, and I understand that. That's how I know it's correct. Now, when Zanuck or Rumpus or anybody else tries to explain it, you're lost in the sauce. So I know it's bullshit.
Yeah, they want to...
That's the purpose.
Chocolate did a really good job yesterday of explaining why, which is to say that they want to detail the projectile and assume the outcome of a spinning Earth with the projectile carried along with an atmosphere travelling along with it, whilst having a conversation about Coriolis, when the projectile really has nothing to do with you observing something seem to deviate, because the projectile and its trajectory is irrelevant, because what you're seeing is a not actual deflection. So whether or not the plane's doing loop-de-loops or completely stationary or hovering, it makes no difference, because what you're observing isn't its motion, it's its not actual motion, and not actual deflection, which is what you'll be describing, because you're rotating underneath it. But they will always want to take it onto the trajectory of the object in the inertial reference frame. And that's not Coriolis. Simple as that.
Yes, I understand it.
So you can see, Neil, they purposely do that, right?
Yes, I think they do, and I think somehow it's the cog kicking in. The cog this. So they have to make it work.
Well, the Coriolis effect, and they love that because they'll just, like Nathan said, they go to the viewpoint of the projectile. Well, that's not it. It's what are the causes of the Coriolis effect. So if you stick to the causes and the true description of it, they can never do it.
It's your observation of something not attached to a rotating platform as you rotate on the platform. That's what Coriolis is. So you're rotating, you're going to look up, see something that's not rotating with you, and how it seems to move because you're rotating under it. That's Coriolis. It's really simple.
Agreed.
My favourite is the roundabout with a lamppost. You're rotating on a roundabout, you look up at a lamppost, immediately you can visualise a lamppost being concreted into the ground and a roundabout spinning around with you on it. So you've got the setting, you can understand, you're looking at something that's not spinning. Now its trajectory is irrelevant, it's concreted into the ground. But as you look at it, it looks like it's moving towards you and then moving away from you. Not actually moving, you're moving. That's Coriolis, not actual deflection. An apparent deviation of a lamppost, in this example, concreted into the ground. Well, anything that's not attached to the spinning reference frame would deviate. Now, if Earth was that non-inertial spinning reference frame, then anything not attached, like a bullet, a ball, a plane, a helicopter, a hot air balloon, a drone, would deflect. In other words, as you rotate underneath it, according to the claim of a ball Earth that spins, you'd see it drift away from you. If it's a drone, it'd launch and you just drift away from it because it's no longer attached to a spinning reference frame. And when Neil deGrasse Tyson details it, that's how he details it. The ball goes into the air, and from the stands it looks like it's curving. It's not, it's travelling straight, but the goalposts are moving underneath it because Earth's turning underneath it, proving Coriolis, proving we spin. That's the claim. However, if Earth is rotating underneath the drone and it's drifting away from you at 15 degrees an hour, and Earth's rotating underneath a football at 15 degrees an hour, causing a field goal to be scored, where it wouldn't have been if Earth was stationary, according to the claim, then it's also rotating underneath aeroplanes and shortening their flight times. That does not happen, therefore Earth isn't rotating underneath anything, and the assertion that it's rotating under balls and bullets because they're in the air for half a second is irrelevant, because it's not actually the case. The necessitated effect would be induced by Earth turning under the ball and therefore turning underneath an aeroplane, shortening its flight time. And you'd have a hot air balloon go up and just wait for a continent to come to it.
I agree, but for entertainment purposes, I like the Miley Cyrus one.
Miley Cyrus thing was me not understanding where they were juxtaposing the reference frames. So I'm describing how, regardless of Coriolis effect, I can choose any reference frame I like. I can be on a pendulum as Miley Cyrus is, or I can get off the pendulum and look at it swinging. I can observe from any reference frame. Well, what they're doing is the opposite. They're saying we will observe Coriolis deviation, and then they're detailing something that a projectile does, which is nothing to do with Coriolis. So they're switching the reference frame, and I was arguing that you can observe something from whichever reference frame you choose. Well, while I might have been correct, it suddenly dawned on me during that argument that Coriolis effect is only ever observable from the non-inertial reference frame. Therefore, when they detail what the plane does, or what the bullet does, or what the hot air balloon does, that's got nothing to do with Coriolis effect whatsoever. And when they are detailing it, they're detailing how those things wouldn't actually have Coriolis effect, because according to them, they're travelling with Earth's velocity. Well, number one, that violates the first law of thermodynamics. As soon as they raise in altitude, they'd be losing the spin of the Earth beneath them. And it also is nonsensical if they're retaining the velocity. If you were looking from above at a plane taking off from a runway, it would take off going backwards. Absolutely preposterous. Also, they've got a claim that Coriolis effect is in effect. So you've got things deviating from the ground, or appearing to deviate from the ground, because Earth's rotating underneath them. So all of the arguments in the trenches are to justify why we don't have Coriolis effect, which is the very thing they're supposed to be using to prove we spin. We just don't have the effect. And if we did, we'd have shortened flight times, and drones would drift away from you, and hot air balloons would go up and just wait for the next country along to come to them at 15 degrees an hour.
They spend most of their time arguing why it doesn't happen.
Exactly. To have Coriolis effect, they must have Earth turning underneath things. That's what gives you the Coriolis effect. That's what it is. Now, when they come here and argue about how they're travelling together, that's not Coriolis effect. It won't give you the effect. It's also nonsense and violates a natural law when you claim that something's tracking along with the spin of the Earth when it raises in altitude, because it would have to increase the energy that it's got to track along with the ground beneath it. It's absolutely absurd. But it's just their way of begging the question that Earth's spinning and then arguing against Coriolis effect by saying we wouldn't see deviation. They're going along together while I assume Earth's spinning, with no proof of such, because the claim proof is Coriolis, which you wouldn't have if it's tracking together, which it can't. You know, back to gas being unbonded. Gases aren't velcroed to Earth. They don't go down, go boom boom. They haven't got an exclusive downward vector with gravity, which is not a force. They expand in all directions and are unbonded, therefore not bonded to Earth to travel with it. Also, you've got multiple directions of surface winds, automatically debunking the notion that air and atmosphere is travelling with the world as it spins, when that claimed spin is supposed to have the atmosphere separate to give you Coriolis deviation.
Well, like I said, the minute you hold them accountable to their rhetoric starts falling apart, then they have to make up new rhetoric like, oh, well, the atmosphere is somehow spinning with the Earth. And, well, then you wouldn't have the Coriolis effect if that's the case.
So the Coriolis effect is something where the conservation of momentum breaks.
Nothing to do with conservation of momentum. It's an observation from a non-inertial reference frame. Now, if your reference frame, which is where you will observe this effect from, is non-inertial, what precisely, pray tell, are you conserving? The non-inertia of the reference frame?
I'm just asking what you think the Coriolis effect is.
I know what the Coriolis effect is. And you're saying it's something to do with
What is it?
conservation. Well, no, it isn't.
What is it?
No, it isn't.
What is it? What is it?
Not conservation of momentum. That's something else.
Okay,
and as I've just
I'm
explained,
not asking what it is
and
now.
now you're
I'm asking
interrupting
what
me.
it is.
What is it? And now you're interrupting me. This hasn't lasted long before you're interrupting me. What's going on? We're only 3 seconds into a conversation and you're talking through me immediately. You've detailed conservation of momentum, and now you're talking through me again. One more time and I'll kick you out. So you expressed the words, conservation of momentum. No, Coriolis effect is an observation from a non-inertial spinning reference frame. Now that observation is non-inertial by nature. You're going to be observing something from a platform that you're attached to. Therefore, you and it are as one with no inertia. So precisely what are you conserving, given that the not actual deflection is precisely because it's not conserving the energy?
I don't quite understand.
Yeah,
like,
no, well, shut up
your
then.
description-
Then shut the fuck up. If you don't understand, sit your ass down and shut up.
Your des-
Listen, don't talk. If you don't understand, listen to people who do. That's us. You are a globehead, and as you have just declared, you don't understand. So sit your ass down and listen to people smarter than you. That's us. Don't ask questions. We're not interested in entertaining you. All you do is talk through us. So sit down, shut up, and listen to people more educated and with a better understanding of what Coriolis is. Don't talk. Especially don't talk through me.
Okay, so you're
So sit
saying
down and shut up.
Coriolis is-
Shut up. You don't understand, Pickle Rick Thicko. You've explained you don't understand. So don't talk. We don't want to educate you, stupid bastard. Now sit down and shut the fuck up. Do you hear me? I don't want to educate your dumb ass. So no, I don't care what you want to know, moron. Your ignorance can wait till you can find it out for yourself, because I will not be educating you, you thick fuck. Do you hear me? If you want to learn, sit down, shut up, and listen. Don't talk.
I'm sorry, I just
Good,
had a
good.
question.
Be sorry, silently.
Why are you attacking
Be
me
silent!
personally? Why are
Be
you
silent. That
attacking
means
me?
shut up. That means no more talking, dunce.
I'm just
Shut
asking why you're so
up,
aggressive.
dunce. You are being told that you have no more to add by me. I'm telling you, not asking, telling. Now, either you will do as you are told, or I will shut you up. Simple. You don't understand, so shut up. Don't interject. Don't challenge me. Don't ask me questions. Just listen to the conversation that involves Coriolis effect between people who do understand it, unlike you, as declared. Given that you don't understand, I don't want any input from you, you fucking retard globehead. So sit down for the 4th time. Shut up. Don't speak. If you do not, I will shut you up. Good dog.
May I know? May I ask one?
May you shut up? Yeah, I'll stick you on mute. Clearly disobedient, like a belligerent child. So I will gag you, you fucking retard. You do not understand this subject. Now, I do not want to educate you. You are a prick. So I'm not going to answer any questions. I'm not going to tolerate any questions from you. You understand? You will be silenced. Now I've asked you, then I've told you. Repeatedly, now I'm going to shut you up and silence you. You fuckwit, retard, globehead.
Silence, Legolas!
Yeah, shut up. Know your place here. Bottom of the pile. You globehead retards are very low in the pecking order now. You've got very little to offer other than questions. You've all got questions, right? Yeah, well, you're going to have to sit around and listen to the people more educated than you explain things as they are, rather than the bullshit that surrounds your religious belief of a globe Earth. You're not going to question us. We'll tell you, and you will like it. It's no longer time for questioning us and laughing at our responses that are ultimately correct. It's now time for us to tell you what's what, and you to listen or fuck off. That's your choices. You'll be told. I do like telling these arseholes off. I think that it's about time the tables turned. I've had enough of them yelling at us and telling us
I
we're
agree
retards.
100%.
I like this approach, Nate. This is bad.
I like it too because it's
No,
like
because you hear in their voice that they're being disingenuous and they're trying to get you, but they can't have it get you because they don't got a gotcha.
I like it also because they keep saying they've got all the answers. That their model has all the answers, but the only thing they present is questions, and that
Exactly.
gives them no self-awareness.
Yeah, they want to question us so they can critique us. So
Yeah,
yes,
and they're scientifically illiterate questions at that.
exactly. Well, why should we be in this position? We've been forced through a baptism of fire in terms of learning what is and isn't the world we live in. Now, these morons who just parrot what they read in Wiki think that they can ridicule us. Well, that has now ended. The time for that is done. I've had enough of it. Now I will ridicule them when they declare ignorance when we're having a quite polite, happy conversation about what Coriolis is and isn't. Oh, well, I don't understand, so what's what? No, Globehead. Sit down. Sit in the corner with a dunce hat on if you don't understand. Don't interject in this conversation. You've got nothing to offer. What, you think Earth spins, do you? Well, you'd have a 15-degree turn an hour under the Earth, under the get there, under the inertial reference frame if Earth was spinning, and we don't experience that. So what have you got to offer here? You claim that Earth's spinning with a begging the question fallacy and a load of questions. Welcome to the club. Yeah, we've all got questions. So what, you can join us on our side and accept it with a bit of humility, and then accept the ridicule we suffer, or you can fuck right off. Think I'm going to answer your questions while you sit there with your religious faith and your zealot assertions that globe's spinning, giving us Coriolis effect that we don't see. That's what you've got to offer. All right, well, we've heard it. I've been here 3 years in this debate. We've heard it. What else have you got to offer? Questions? Nah, suck my balls with your questions. We've all got questions once we find out we've been lied to. You have to accept some humility that you've actually been lied to, and you don't tolerate that nonsense as nonsense anymore. You realise that it is complete horseshit, and you accept it and verbalise it, opening yourself up to the absolutely heinous ridicule that we get. Well, why should we suffer it while you get to ask all the questions? Yeah, we've got the same questions. But we have to suffer ridicule while we ask them, but you get to come here and say, oh yeah, I still believe I'm on a sphere, even though it doesn't stack up in any way, shape or form, but I'm going to quiz you. I won't suffer any ridicule for it, though. I'll just go about my day believing like a fundamentalist religious zealot that Earth's turning at 15 degrees an hour under planes and not shortening their flight times.
It seems like their to-go-to is always this conservation of momentum, which has nothing to do with it.
That's where we started with that guy. He said those words, then continually interrupted me while I corrected him. Then declared his own ignorance. Well, I don't understand what it is. Well, then shut the fuck up. Why have you just declared that it's conservation of momentum then? You just don't know, but you're here to quiz us. No, sit in the sidelines and listen to the conversation. We're talking about Coriolis. But you want to pipe up and tell us about conservation of momentum? What, so we can rip it to pieces while you interrupt us? No, my tolerance level for this shit is 0 now. Yeah? I think you can come here, tell us you don't understand and ask a question and then interrupt us. How dare you, Pickle Rick?
Pickle prick. Yeah, I like this approach too.
Well, the first word, conservation. Now, if you take just that word and what conservation means, you apply it to what supposedly the Coriolis effect is, if the Earth was spinning underneath, it doesn't even equate. It's like, what are you conserving? Well, you have two different reference frames, and 15-degree movement. Where's the conservation? I don't even understand why they go to that one.
Nothing's
Because
being
Wiki
conserved.
says it.
Nothing's being conserved. The deflection is because it's not attached. So in the case of the gyroscope's got a fixed frame of reference, and that's the inertial reference frame. The reason it's got a 15-degree claim to be deviation is because it's claimed Earth's rotating underneath. Well, where's the retention of angular momentum? Where's the velocity being kept? It isn't.
Yeah, precisely. There's no. That's why it just boggles me when they go to saying the word conservation when, again, they're arguing against it when they should be arguing for it.
Yeah, you need 15 degrees an hour. We have it spouted at us in the comments like it's an argument. 15 degrees an hour. Oh, right, you mean 15 degrees an hour of the Earth rotating underneath an inertial reference frame, showing deviation from the ground? I.e., me looking at a bullet or a ball and seeing it seem to curve when it's actually travelling straight because Earth's rotating underneath. That's the claim. Yes, so 15 degrees an hour of Earth rotating underneath. No. It's the bullet retaining velocity. No, that's nothing to do with Coriolis effect. It's a 15 degrees an hour claim of Earth rotating underneath, not retaining anything. Deviating by 15 degrees. Deviating because it's not attached. Not retaining velocity.
Yep.
Let's have a little polite find out. Is he still here? Is Pickle Rick buggered off? No way. Let me get it straight. He wanted to find out about it. We've just been discussing it and now he's disappeared. I was literally going to take him off mute and said, now we've discussed it without constant interruption from you. Do you now understand that it's not angular momentum being retained? And he's fucked off. He's run away. Can't sit and listen. Has to interrupt. And when I force him to listen, he just runs off. Well, I'll disappear then. If I'm not allowed to interrupt, then I won't listen. That's the level of scummy behaviour we have to deal with. They want to learn, do they? No, they don't. They want to interrupt. Tell us how we're wrong and humiliate us.
No, he wanted to just interrupt and stop the argument from progressing.
It's a set of to-go argument points that the ballers constantly bring up. And you could tell it's almost like they went to a class for it. If they say this, then we say this. And then when they say that, we say that. So every time we talk about Coriolis, I'm telling you, every time, I can't remember a time that hadn't happened. They always bring up this conservation of momentum.
Listen, when the after show is over, you got people on here for hours and Zanuck talking his shit to them.
Well, yeah, that's the wolf in the hen house. He wants to come and take 1 hour of truth-telling and subvert it by twisting it. And that's who does that for a living, huh? I mean, when I saw these guys go to after shows for hours and hours, I remember one time Zanuck came on an early show here, and he was on Discord until like 7, 8 p.m. at night. It's like, what in the world does this guy do for a living?
That's a good question.
No, they're just a bunch of liars, and they're getting caught. They're embarrassed. The black swan killed them. Gas pressure without a container kills them. The lack of Earth-based Coriolis, as we're talking, kills them. All they can do is lie instead of saying, wow, you're right. You know what? It should be doing that.
No, instead they say Neil deGrasse Tyson's wrong. That's what they say. Because we're going to argue against Coriolis here. So Neil deGrasse Tyson's wrong. He asserts Coriolis effect as being the ball seeming to curve because the Earth's rotating underneath it. Now, they want to argue about how the bullet's retaining velocity, even though that's not Coriolis effect, and therefore they throw Neil deGrasse Tyson under the bus and say he's wrong.
First of all, I don't need Neil deGrasse Tyson, or you, or anybody needs him to validate what is the obvious. It was just happenstance that Neil deGrasse, probably full of pride, had to show off a little bit on the show and say, you know what, the Cincinnati Bengals football game, you know that field goal that went in, that was because of Earth turn. Okay, great. That's fine. I'll never need to use that because I already know what Coriolis is. I already know what they're fighting against, which is the very thing they want to prove. Just their own obfuscation and doublespeak is enough.
No, you got that wrong, Ken. He said he did a quick calculation of everything that was going on. Don't forget the calculation he did.
Right. I know. I watched that video several times. I don't need Neil deGrasse to validate what true Coriolis is. Because the causes of Coriolis are two separate reference frames.
But he had what was it? A lady he was talking to? Had them in awe.
Yeah.
He had them in awe. Wow.
No, I know, but
that
see,
was
if I link my understanding of Coriolis to just what Neil deGrasse Tyson said, that's weak. What are the causes? What causes the Coriolis effect? Once you get that down, it doesn't matter what Neil deGrasse Tyson says or doesn't say.
I agree.
Yeah, so if they want to, we do it as a jest. We say, yeah, but Neil deGrasse Tyson agrees with Flat Earth on what Coriolis should be doing. Oh, no, he's wrong. Oh, he's wrong now. So we're wrong, he's wrong, you're right. So what are the causes of Coriolis effect? And then they fall apart.
Oh, look, Zanuck says the same thing about what do you call it? The entropy law, right? Zanuck says everybody's wrong.
Yeah, liars do that. How many times has Zanuck been here, been taught the truth about these subjects? He still doesn't accept it. He's the enemy, Neil. He's the enemy. There's no conversion.
I do not even stay on. If he's on, I get right off. I do not even entertain him. I just get right off. As soon as I see him and I hear his voice, I go the other way.
Yeah. Well, he's had plenty of time to turn from his errors, and he chose to be on the dark side.
Says QE doesn't understand science. Nathan doesn't understand anything. He just listens to whatever QE says. You know, after that discussion, I have no use for him. He's made his opinion, and that's it.
Yeah, the problem is they say the Earth is spinning. We say prove it. They say Coriolis effect. We destroy that argument. Then what? Lie some more?
Coriolis effect is things seeming to take a curved path when they're actually travelling straight. The reason they seem to take a curved path when they're actually travelling straight is because you're rotating underneath them. For example, if you're on a roundabout and you look at a lamppost that's cemented into the ground, you're rotating underneath it. The reason the lamppost seems to take a curved path moving towards you and then away from you is because you're rotating underneath. That's Coriolis effect. Something that's travelling straight, or in the case of my lamppost example, not travelling at all, but seeming to take a curved path because you're rotating, not the object. So it's you rotating underneath to cause an object that's not attached to you and the rotating platform to seem to curve, not actually curve, because you're rotating underneath. So for there to be a Coriolis effect on Earth, Earth needs to rotate underneath anything not attached to it. And it's claimed to rotate underneath at the rate of 15 degrees an hour. It is claimed that Earth as a ball rotates underneath objects that are not attached to it at a rate of 15 degrees an hour. Now, if it is actually the case, and Earth is a ball spinning at a rate of 15 degrees an hour to demonstrate this not actual deflection in things like an aeroplane. So, we assume Earth is spinning because it's a ball in a sky vacuum. And as a result, we look at an aeroplane in the sky and go, oh look, it looks like it's curving. It isn't really curving. It's me rotating underneath, and that causes it to seem like it's curving when it's actually travelling straight. I'm actually rotating underneath that aeroplane. So I'm moving towards the plane as it travels straight, making it look like it's curving. So for that to be the case, for me to look at a plane and have it look like it's curving, we've got to rotate underneath that aeroplane. And if we're rotating underneath an aeroplane, that shortens its flight times when travelling west. Because as the plane travels through the air, the ground's rotating underneath the plane. And Earth is absolutely, definitely not rotating underneath planes, shortening flight times, given that it's often the case that travelling east gives you the shorter flight time. So therefore, Earth is not rotating because we don't have the necessary cause of a Coriolis deviation. The cause of a Coriolis deflection, not actual drift, 15 degrees an hour as per the claim of a globe Earth that spins, would be Earth rotating underneath things. And it does not.
So that means I should be experiencing Coriolis every time I see something in the air?
Yes.
Every time I throw the ball to my son?
Yes.
I should be experiencing Coriolis.
Yes.
And
as you throw the ball, it should seem to curve when in fact you've thrown it in a straight trajectory. But because you're rotating underneath, still attached to the ground that's claimed to be rotating, it would seem to curve precisely a la Neil deGrasse Tyson's example. Ball gets kicked from the ground. While it's attached, it's rotating with the ground. Once it's kicked from the ground through the air, it seems to curve through the goalposts. Now, in reality, the ball basically travelled straight, and Earth is claimed to have rotated underneath the ball, with its 2-second hang time. But as you're in the stands watching that ball seem to curve through the air, you could crane your neck a little further and go, oh, look at that plane, also not attached, seeming to curve? Because the ground's travelling underneath the plane? No, because that would shorten the flight times. So definitely not the case. Just a nonsense assertion.
Yeah, this pickle Rick, he went to the school of Zanuck, and he says, oh, I got them now. And he comes here and he just dies.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, and that's about it in G+, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello, hello. That it? Okay. Any evidence of Earth curve, formerly known as the geometric horizon?
Not from the non-inertial reference frame.
Mic check.
Hey, Rebel. Hey, Chocolate.
Not from the stands.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, Armin. It's all kicking off now. Everyone's coming in.
Yo,
Yo.
good afternoon.
Any evidence of axial rotation?
Star rotations.
What do you mean of the Earth?
Of the Earth-based variety, yeah.
I infer from the star rotations that the Earth must be spinning beneath it.
Wouldn't the Earth have to be a certain shape for it to be doing that in the first place?
Afternoon, guys.
Hey, Adam. Good to have you.
Adam, what up, brother?
Yo.
Sorry I didn't say hello yesterday. I was too busy yelling at fundies.
That was fun, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was good entertainment whilst I was working, Nathan. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Adam, my condolences to the score of the game.
Bro, mate, I tell you what, that's just maths. What a shitbag maths is. You see, the first...
you know why, though?
The maths
why?
caused the score to be...
No, don't be silly. Let's not descend this into stupidity. You know why they lost, right?
It's the crap.
No. Time was the cause.
If I could have just...
Okay.
Thank you, 10.
Who lost?
Who cares? Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
We care.
Hello, live show, flat Earth debate. Hello.
Sorry.
Hello. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
None.
No evidence.
You can rattle through housekeeping. We can get to your football after. How's that?
No, I'm done. I'm only getting...
There is no distance to the sun. It's an apparition. There's only an apparent distance. It's relative for
Perfect.
the observer.
Thank you, Arwin. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Oh, no.
No. Reification fallacy. It's relative density.
I've got to start saying that. Anthony Riley was just calling me as soon as I pressed the go live button. I'm like, you bastard. 2 o'clock on the dot, you're phoning me. Anyway. The reification fallacy known as gravity. That's right, exactly. Well said.
My evidence is PhD. Respect my authority. Enough said.
That seems to be good enough for some people, too, so... It's weird.
So, if you're unaware what a reification fallacy is, the fallacy of misplaced concreteness, where you take an idea and turn it into something real. Like unicorns, if you were of the ilk that would tell people that they were real, then you are guilty of reifying this idea of unicorns into an actual physical thing. The same applies to gravity. It's merely a mathematical description of a concept that is bending space-time, described in the geometry of that should be the hint, pseudo-Riemannian force space. So length, breadth, depth and time, the concept of uneven distribution of mass causing space-time to bend, that's maths, not real. So it's the reification fallacy that is called gravity. Shout out to Sleeping
Rumble
Warrior.
disagrees, though. Pseudo means real.
Pseudo means real!
Means intentional deceive.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
If pseudo means real, then yes.
Pseudo does not mean real, it means fake, it means sham.
Okay, then no.
No. Okay.
Can't put anything in the sky through the scientific method, so no viable hypothesis. Sorry.
Yeah, none of them will. They can appear to step one at best. At best.
You know what's interesting is of all the words in the English language to use to explain what you want to tell us, you start off with pseudo.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? With the Einsteinian pseudo-Riemannian force space, it's like most of the things in the heliocentric model. When a good couple of months now ago that we identified the fact that the they in the heliocentric lie is, for the most part, just us. In other words, we perpetuate this nonsense out by way of reification, but us as individuals will disseminate it to other people and defend it in the case of this specific debate. So individuals come and try and defend the rhetoric and explain how the nonsense actually works and how, no, it is really a force, because I can think of it as a force, as I've been told to do by a pseudoscientist. So these people have actually deluded themselves, and if they were to have looked into the maths of Einstein, it's very specifically detailing what it is and what it isn't. It's pseudo. It's not real, it's fake, it's sham. It's just geometry in a conceptual medium. Well, if they're telling you this, it's the same as Andrew Thomas Young telling you we don't have a geometric horizon. It's just a geometric consideration. Well, that says what the reality of the situation is. Then at that point you have the choice. Either reify this mathematical construct into your world and then decide that you are actually standing on a sphere, but you're not. That's just a model, a philosophy. And when you look into the philosophy of heliocentrism, it makes it plain that it's not real.
Well, there's another word they use, fictitious.
Yeah. They pepper it with these words and people just seem to just ignore them. It's like if you disclose that it's pseudo, then people will defend pseudo as real rather than accept that it's pseudo. It's like, okay, well, that's your decision to reify your worldview from this maths and tell me how real it is. Well, it isn't.
I like effective. That's a good one.
Effective.
Effective radius.
Yeah, they like that word. It's effective, meaning you're going to consider your world as this way, effective immediately, by way of this maths.
How about arbitrary?
The arbitrary horizon.
No, they always use the word arbitrarily. Arbitrary. I mean, they make up stuff as they go.
Negligible too. When you're supposed to notice something that's there, that they're telling you is there, but it's not really there. You can't really measure it because it's not really there. They call it negligible.
Mm-hmm.
And top of the
R
pops.
is negligible.
Hey, chocolate. What's the new one? Probabilistic. What's that context?
Probabilistic belief. I can't even say it without laughing. Sorry.
You got a top of the pops with this one. Nominal.
Nominal.
You ever look at, can someone on the panel look at what the definition of nominal actually is and just read it out for me?
In name only.
Right.
Yeah, it's a role or status existing in name only.
Perfect. Thank you, Adam. Master to ground
kind of
control.
like-
Everything is nominal. Existing in name only. Beep beep. Yep. Everything's nominal here too. Beep beep.
So it kind of does mean pseudo as well. It's just not as apparent that it does.
The bottom line, Arwin, as far as I'm concerned, is if you did enough digging, it would become apparent to the inquirer that the world is not a sphere, by their own declaration, by their own admission, and it's even told to you really early on. What are we talking about? We're talking about the heliocentric model, right? Well, when you look up reification fallacy, it details the idea of making a model reality. The idea of the map not being the terrain. It's reification. Well, they've told you from day one it's a model. Just a model. But you want, the fundies, want to reify that into the world that they actually stand on. But given the research that we've done here, literally on this show, we've all seen them say it to us. Their words, right? They're telling you it's not real. And the deeper you go, the more they can extrapolate in and out of the bullshit to make it seem real and give you a almost plausible explanation for why it's being reified from a not actual, not physical, nominal position like the horizon into a physical, actual position that blocks things. Now, they'll give you the justification and the steps in between, but they've told you that you've had to jump through those hoops to turn maths into reality. In other words, there's no blame to be laid once you actually get into the nitty-gritty of what they're disclaiming. They've told you it's not real, so it's on you. So, 5 years ago, and you get to this, who do I blame? Who's going to be held to task for this? Who's getting dragged into the street and whipped for this lie that I've been told? Well, no one. You just didn't look hard enough. Would be the if I got to somebody who was actually potentially, seen as being blameworthy, I'd get in front of them and go, "You've lied to me about this," and they go, "No, how dare you? You just didn't look hard enough." And I go, no, you told us the Earth was a sphere. Look at this, look a bit closer. Let's have a look at what Andrew Thomas Young actually says. No, he told you that you had to take geometric considerations. Did you take geometric considerations, Nathan? Well, yeah, I did. Yeah, I thought it was a sphere edge. Well, you took your geometric considerations and you decided that the sphere edge was in the form of the horizon, even though it tells you that it's not actual. So it's your fault. Why are you blaming me? That's what you'd get.
You took it and reified it into your own world.
Yeah. And that's why they fear us. Because we're the ones with a little torch and a little spotlight on how the people who come here to defend their fundy faith in a reified philosophy have reified a philosophy into their worldview. Now, they just want their worldview to be real. And we stand between the reality of a sphere Earth and the reification of a model. And that scares them. Because they just want it to be real. And if we weren't pointing out how it's just a model, pointing out how it's maths, and pointing out how the people who told you it's a sphere haven't really told you it's a sphere, they've told you how to reify maths. And you have. So it's your fault. Who are you going to blame once you realise how you've been deceived? And the person deceiving you is yourself. You just didn't do enough research, you fool. So it's on you, you bloody morons. And it was on me. Now I can have a good laugh about it. I'm over it. Weren't I stupid? Wasn't I stupid? Better English. Wasn't I stupid? I thought the Earth was a sphere. How stupid was I? At least I can have a damn good laugh about how stupid I was to think that nonsense. Now I've looked into it, I've realised it's a philosophy. Just a way of conceptualising the movement of the stars. Doesn't mean I'm standing on a sphere. That notion's preposterous.
The best paragraph. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, and the perfect example of that is Mr. George Boozer himself, who tells you gravity is not real, but you can think of it as real. He's literally telling you, you can just go ahead and reify gravity into whatever you need it to be. Isn't that nice? Thank you, George Boozer.
Yeah, the best paragraph on this came from the Association of American Geographers. It says, we should embrace the fiction in our science because understanding what we can measure and what we cannot is a very important step to understanding the world around us scientifically. The geographers are into fictitious geography now. This is how bad it is.
See, that's the misdirection again, isn't it? Understanding the world scientifically is newspeak for giving it a mathematical description of some of the functions and then painting that as if you understand reality.
Yeah, I think you got it right there.
We demonstrate
everybody
science.
Yeah, convincing everybody that you need to find out everything scientifically, and then convincing everyone at the same time that everything has been established scientifically. Everything is science. Science is loose. You could just look at things and call it science, and therefore we could establish that it's real and validate it.
I'm going to ask Adam a direct question here because he's works with chemistry and all that kind of stuff. So isn't when they start off by saying we should embrace the fiction in our science, right there, I would say, I thought science was about nonfiction and getting to the truth. These guys are saying we should embrace the fiction. Doesn't that sound contrary?
That was a worrying statement, isn't it? Is that not again newspeak for believe?
Yeah.
It's just believe it. It's a bit like the New Ages years ago. Fake it till you make it sort of attitude. If you just go along with it and keep working in that paradigm, it'll all be fine. It'll all be fine. But the basic understanding that it's not real.
Was it Goebbels or Hitler that said make the lie big?
Yeah.
Which one was it, Goebbels or Hitler?
It's Goebbels, isn't it? Make the lie big enough and say it long enough and they'll believe it.
It's propaganda, wasn't he? He was responsible for propaganda. Maybe. It doesn't matter. The point is that in terms of lies, as far as I am concerned, the physical nature of reality, there is no bigger lie. The heliocentric deception is the biggest lie mankind has ever had foisted upon them.
There you go. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it.
There you go. Perfect. So, the lie, while we're standing on a sphere, people are antipode from you. Upside down, with relation to your position, there are people hanging off the bottom of a sphere. Antipodal. Because of a non-force force that you can think of as a force that's a conceptual medium known as space-time being bent by way of a mathematical reification of pseudo-Riemannian force space when you have an uneven distribution of mass, that holds people antipode to you on a sphere. It's a massive lie and totally absurd, but it's so big of a lie and it's told so often that people have accepted it as their world. And upon investigation, it's merely a philosophy.
Let me finish the full quote, Nathan. It's expands nicely on what you said. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such a time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and or military consequences of that lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus by extension the truth is the greatest enemy of the state.
So, while we are turning the tables on the fundamentalist religious zealotry that is globe earth belief, we are doing it in the same vein we are subject to, with the same level of venom. And why are we subject to such high degrees of venom? Well, because we are purveying the truth of the obvious and observable flat nature of our reality, whilst in a world that has had perpetuated upon them the biggest lie in history, that we're standing on a model that merely suggests how the stars move so you can understand them. Not even that works perfectly.
Well, yeah, they still have all types of problems, right? They got the little cosmological problem that Michio Kaku lays out perfectly. With, oh, cosmology, we're off by a factor of 10 to the 120th power, right? They still have their little 3-body problem. You got all these problems they can't figure out. They got the problem with their little reification of gravity, which is why they had to invent dark matter and all this other crap. Like it's just a story, man. It's Star Wars for adults. Santa Claus shit. It's pretty sad.
You know, that last statement you said, Nathan, when I talked to that navigator via email, I said, why did they, when they used the sextant for navigation, why did they assume that the Earth is still and the stars are moving? And his answer back was, well, because it works easier that way. So the lie was so big and so strong that they can come back and say, oh, by the way, when you use the sextant, assume the Earth, meaning the Earth moving, the lie, assume it's not moving. It'll work better because it's easier.
Sounds like newspeak again, Tam.
Yep.
It works easier that way, as in it doesn't work the other way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's various NASA documents that say the same in terms of flights over the plane. Consider it flat. Why? Well, because that's what it is. It's as simple as that.
And motionless.
Right. Don't worry about continents travelling towards you to give us the claim that we've got a Coriolis deviation observable from the ground. It isn't. Just consider it motionless and flat.
Meanwhile, Tim Osmond in the chat telling ballers, oh, I suggest you guys don't give him your attention. Meanwhile, he's in the chat.
Yeah, somebody made me an advert to similar effect saying, boycott Nathan's show. I'm like, well, you're putting out an advert for me and giving me more publicity. But there we go. Clearly you don't understand how it works.
How's that boycott going, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
It's going nominal.
It's nominal. Or Bob the Science Guy in the chat would be saying, don't go on Nathan's show. Only idiots go on Nathan's show. I spam the chat with the link to him on the show. It's like, oh my God, these people are so thick.
Oh, so which housekeeping question are we on?
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Not in Nottingham.
Maybe some of the ballers that aren't paying attention but are actually in the chat would tell us that. Maybe.
No 39,000 mile deep holes in Nottingham.
No, we've got P and S waves.
There you go. P waves and S waves.
Man, Adam, you're sharp today, man.
See Alwyn? He got called sharp and all he said was P waves and S waves. He got called sharp. Got a compliment for it. Alwyn's obviously run away for a moment.
I was giggling to that yesterday. Was it yesterday when you...
The best is when Alwyn was just like, I don't understand what P waves and S waves are though. It's like, good. It's even better. You're like the enemy. They don't understand half the time when they just spout it. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon for all the fundies who think the sky is a vacuum?
No.
The gradient, Nathan. Gradient.
We discussed this in the pre-show, although you weren't here, Chocolate. Yeah, that little straw man red herring is purely there so that they can assume they've got gas pressure in the first instance, and they don't have to argue about where they get the gas pressure from in the first place if they didn't have a container for the gas to press upon. So without the container, you'd form no pressure in the first place to have a gas pressure gradient. It's delta of gas pressure. Gas pressure gradient's just a red herring. How'd you get the gas pressure in the first place?
Can you repeat the last question, Nathan? I have an answer for you.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Yeah. Effusion and diffusion laws. That's it.
Yeah, we've had that for the last couple of days. I don't know why people have started parroting this nonsense like it's somehow a defense.
How does that prove that we have gas pressure without a container?
Really doesn't.
Fuck, I don't have to prove anything. I just have to say it.
Yeah, you're right on.
Copy that.
Yeah, that's a good... You're exactly right. Perfect. I've just cottoned on to why you've said it. Exactly. So, the perfect example. People will come along, P waves and S waves as an example, or effusion. What's that you say? Effusion. Okay, what about it? Effusion! That's what you get!
Well, it's gotten worse than that. Once you press him on why the hell did you bring it in, he doesn't even know. Has no idea as to why he brought it in, what the term means, what relevance that is. Just same for S waves and P waves.
Yep. That's effusion. All right, that's an effect of entropy, though, isn't it? You'd describe effusion as an entropy increase, wouldn't you? No, you say. Entropy's not a thing. What, doesn't apply to the Earth? Bouncy balls go down, go boom boom. A container's not a pipe. Moving on. Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius.
Oh, so they're using diffusion as an argument?
Effusion.
Effusion.
Effusion, yeah. Through a barrier, basically. So rather than just having a valve like in the demonstration with bromine, if there was some sort of membrane between the two, like a filter, then that would be effusion, as I understand it.
Aren't we asking why the gas is not doing that?
Yeah, but exactly. That's my exasperation when it came up. Because I'm like, why the hell are you bringing this up? Give us a citation, hoping to lead him down the path of reading it. He got halfway through reading it, and literally while he's reading his own citation was like, I'm not a scientist.
Well, this is why I'm confused. That's why I said, is it diffusion? But effusion by its very nature is a container with a hole in it.
Yeah, that's as I understood it.
So we've got back to a container again, where we've put a hole in it.
Oh, God. QE. Effusion in physics and chemistry. Effusion is the process in which a gas escapes from a container through a hole of diameter considerably smaller than the mean free path of the molecules. That's KJ Leader and JH Miser. Physical Chemistry / Benjamin Cummings, 1982, page. Oh, it's just the reference.
Are they saying we have a container with a tiny hole in it?
Yeah.
What?
Exactly. We detailed it yesterday with the example being a tire with a hole.
Okay. Where's the tire in their model? What?
Well, according to what Neil said this morning, that's what they're saying. They're saying we're in the closed system with a hole in it.
Wow. So Mega Maid, right, with the door. that's what we're talking about.
Hey QE, thank you for sending that.
That's why the rockets fly sideways until they get under that hole, chocolate.
Thank you for sending that, QE.
Yeah, you're talking about effusion. That's Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, aka the photosynthetic redneck. That's his screw up. I've been waiting to jack him up for about 8 months with this. And then who brought this up?
Several people have brought it up, all of which have, without being unkind to them, seem like retards. So it's come. I don't know where the source is. I have no idea. But there's been several retards who've just parroted it off without knowing why they're parroting it. That much is clear. So somebody somewhere has used this effusion as some sort of defense against entropy. I just don't know the source.
How many times have I said this in the entropy, not the entropy definition, but the definition of increasing in entropy?
Dozens of times.
Dozens, more than that.
Diffusion, it's diffusion, effusion, colligative effects, osmosis, right?
Yep. When it was said by the guy who brought it up, because you've said it so many times, I pretty much verbatim parroted what you said because you've said it so many times.
It was show 1213. It was a guy called Brew, I believe.
Oh, that Brew dipshit. Mr. Astrophysicist, he was the one that said the second law was science.
That's the one.
That is too funny, man.
So I did actually get to listen to Tony Purcell, your little clip. Can I play it?
Oh my god. That was fantastic.
This is great. We all cool with hearing this clip?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Piled higher and deeper, Tony Purcell, geophysicist, 22 July, 2020.
Trees convert carbon dioxide, which is a gas, into oxygen, which is another gas.
No. Wrong, Rama. Plants don't use CO2 to generate oxygen. All the oxygen generated or liberated comes from the splitting of water by photosystem 2 during light-dependent reactions. We knew this 80 friggin' years ago. It's called the Hill reaction. Dummkopf. Apparently you've been swapping spit in the shower with the photosynthetic redneck, aka Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, that made the same stupid mistake.
So trees don't create gas.
But no, they don't. Be careful. I got yelled at about that now. So just to be.
Oh, really? Who by?
Just to be quantum eraser. Just to be very specific, QE. If you're listening, you little son of a bitch.
Hi there, numpty.
We're not saying that trees break carbon dioxide up into carbon and oxygen.
That's exactly what that moron said. Let's take a listen.
Trees convert carbon dioxide, which is a gas, into oxygen, which is another gas. Trees convert carbon dioxide, which is a gas, into oxygen, which is another gas.
Ergo, he is another photosynthetic redneck numpty like you.
For me, it boils down to a gas molecule at Earth's surface has finite energy.
What in the world did you get yourself into now, Dumkov? Finite energy? What does it do? Reach the end of the line of finite energy and rip off its bra in rebellion of gas law and the second law of thermodynamics? Time to fall down, go boom boom, go splash splash. Hey? Numpty, the average kinetic energy of gas particles is proportional to the absolute temperature of the gas or gases. My word.
Entropy is not a source of infinite energy that will give that will allow a gas molecule to travel an infinite distance in an arbitrary direction. Conservation of energy is the primary natural law that everything needs to obey, and even entropy is subject to it.
What? Number one, numpty, nobody said entropy was an infinite source of energy because it's a moronic statement and an incoherent straw man. Number two, natural laws don't provide and are not sources of energy. And number three, the second law of thermodynamics isn't a conservation law. So to say a non-conservation law follows a conservation law is Dumkov and batshit insane. Of course, entropy doesn't create or destroy energy. It doesn't have anything to do with the topic. This entire charade of yours is tantamount to claiming divorce law obeys the Bill of Rights.
So this is what I lack. So I believe I stated over and over again is, I'm a mathematician who has become a geophysicist. I am not overburdened with a technical understanding of a great deal of physical reality, as it might be termed.
What's this? Okay. Shit, hold on.
Why would you say that? Why would you just openly declare that you're a mathematician, basically?
I'm not overburdened
I'm not overburdened with reality. We don't have to work at the really is level. We've got loads of these great quotes from these dipshit
He's
PhDs.
not overburdened with the technical understanding of physical reality.
That's that new speak again, isn't it? For
shit. When I heard that ending, Adam, I'm saying, wait a minute, did he just say physical reality is not his bag?
Yes, he did.
Hey,
I
Spares.
couldn't believe it.
Hey, Spares.
Hey, is the microphone
You're
okay?
all good. You sound great. All good.
Fantastic.
Pleasure to have you.
Excellent. I don't want to interrupt John's breaking down of this. I mean, it's unbelievable, but yeah, carry on, John. It's superb stuff.
We're just to be clear, we're not saying that we'll break gas to another gas. I had the same reaction, like, he just said that.
Yeah, because he knows he's been pummeled on it. So it was a twofer. So he's essentially conceding, although albeit in a Weasley way, that he got it wrong and he's been called on it and been corrected, and then he's self-policing the other guy, or policing the other guy, and going, no, wait, look, I've been called on that. Don't say that. We're not saying that that's what he's just said.
I listened to it like 5 times.
Because I had said it before too.
Yeah, we're not saying it again. He's not making the same exact mistake.
Like,
we're not both dumbos.
If you're listening,
you son of a bitch. Hi, Numpty.
Hi, Numpty.
If you're listening, you son of a bitch, catching me out on my stupidity. Look, don't do the same to this stupid numpty. I'm going to correct him now. He's not saying what he's just said. Okay?
No, but then
there's like 4 concessions in a row. Like, I don't even understand.
After the guy bailed him out, he goes and makes it worse by saying physical reality is not his bag.
Yo, I was like, what? You just say that? I don't have one.
At least when is it Musa, we don't have to work at the really is level. At least that's got a certain degree of eloquence to it.
Exactly. That's the first thing I thought of.
I am going to take a bit of learning from that. So when I'm dealing with my students now and they're not quite performing, I'm going to say it appears that you're not overburdened with knowledge in this subject.
You should play it again.
Yeah, I mean that.
We should. It was funny.
Yeah, play it again, Nathan. That was.
I don't know if I can script through on Skype to the end bit. Let's just see if I can.
Numpty. Nobody said entropy was an infinite provide and are not sources of energy. And number 3, the second law of thermodynamics isn't a conservation law. So to say a non-conservation law follows a conservation law is dummkopf and batshit insane. Of course, entropy doesn't create or destroy energy. It doesn't have anything to do with the topic. This entire charade of yours is tantamount to claiming divorce law obeys the Bill of Rights.
So this is what I lack. So I believe I stated over and over again is, I'm a mathematician who has become a geophysicist. I am not overburdened with a technical understanding of a great deal of physical reality, as it might be termed.
Have you got that written down with all the ums and ers?
Say again?
Have you got it written down with all the, like, verbatim with all the ums and ers? That needs writing down. I need to see that in black and white on paper.
Somebody needs to do that then. Yeah, I don't do that. I don't do it that way.
Somebody's made a kind of short version of all the ums and ahs, yeah. I think it's like 7 minutes. I think it's going Yeah.
It's put in that quote.
So he says, this is what I lack. And he's going to teach us something. And he admits to what he lacks. Physical reality knowledge.
Which sounded like an understanding of reality. Thanks.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to explain anything to us then?
No, that's a physicist telling you he lacks understanding of physical reality. It's the penultimate of goofs.
What a soundbite you got there, man.
Hold on, just for clarity. What does physics deal with, QE?
Adam starts laughing. Last time I checked, it was the physical.
The physical, you say? But he doesn't have a great grasp on the physical.
But he's not overburdened with it, Nathan.
I see.
Overburdened with it.
Oh, wonderful. So it's not like pouring out of him, and he's just like, "Oh my God, all this knowledge I have of physical reality." He's released his burden of it. All right, that's good to know.
It's an embedded confession, because that's precisely what you've got to do to believe you're on a sphere.
Yep. There you go.
But calculations are so much easier.
Yeah, guys, tonight it almost does sound like that. Like, yes, I can believe in all of this nonsense because I am not overburdened with the actual knowledge of my reality. Wow.
Hold on,
statement coming from a PhD.
Hold on, Chocolate. I know a plug when I hear one. Go on. Go ahead, Chemo.
Thank you, Nathan. Yeah. So tonight, 8 o'clock UK time, I'll be discussing science with scientists. That would be AB Science and Conspiracy Cats, and whoever else they have on the panel. So the intention is just to discuss science. What is science? Who uses science? When should it be used? Why should we use it? So I thought we could just talk about it right now. We can get into science and when we shouldn't kind of use science, because the ball earthers have the impression. Hold on, nearly finished. So the ballers have the impression that science can be applied everywhere in all aspects.
Right? They're probabilistic beliefs, man.
Wait, but everywhere, or should it be applied nowhere? Because apparently we've heard that we should just get rid of the scientific method altogether.
I thought science doesn't prove things.
Yeah, because I spoke with Mr. Scott, Scott Veach.
Probabilistic beliefs, man. Yeah, we heard of him.
Yeah, so what he wants to do is disregard the scientific method. He says there's not even a scientific method. And his version of science is just called science. So he would say you would observe something, and you would form a hypothesis.
Yeah, we heard.
Yeah, and then you would observe it and come to your conclusion.
No, do you want to play that one?
No, but what I'm trying to get into is how do we as flat earthers even know that the science we're subscribing to is science? If they're saying it's not science, like, I don't want it to be like a us and them, but in general for the world at large.
Come on, Chemo. It is a us and them. They're taking the word science, bastardizing it, and you're giving them like any
No, because people want to know how to gain knowledge, because people are confused about acquiring knowledge about the natural physical world, right? So I hear a lot from the ball earthers, you don't need science to know.
Well, then why do they have science departments in universities that have...
that's what we'll find out. Why do they call it science? Now, I would say they would call it science because they are acquiring knowledge. If we look at science, you want knowledge, you want to know something, gnosis, and they understand you can go about knowing something in different ways.
Yeah, but Chemo, these are the same people who say science.
Guys, hello, guys, hello.
To apply.
Hello.
I know.
Hello.
But
hello.
I'm trying to nail down how we use.
Oh my God.
Nathan, go on.
It's like the plug that will never end. So, be here or be sphere, 8 p.m. UK time or 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Under No Pressure is the name of the channel. It's Spurs Chemo's channel. So that's 8 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And that's tonight on Under No Pressure channel.
No, it's not Under No Pressure. It's Agree to Disagree on Conspiracy Cats' channel. He's got a new channel.
God.
Yeah.
Agree to Disagree. Let me do the plug again then. Hold on. So the channel name is Agree to Disagree. And that's 8 p.m. UK time tonight, 2 p.m. Central Standard. Agree to Disagree is the YouTube channel. Be here or be sphere.
Sounds like it's going to be frustrating.
My goodness.
I was said earlier.
But science, though, I mean, is that...
So, Spurs, there's this thing that these guys, because we like to ask them about their science, they then turn around and say things like, oh, well, science isn't the only way to know everything. Well, we don't say that. Science is about cause and effect. If you're trying to establish cause and effect of a natural observation in the world, science all day. But after that...
Walk me through that. How did that happen? How did we decide that is the formula? Why is that the way and there is no other way? How do we... Take me back.
Again, I just said that's not the only way to gain knowledge of something. No.
Science.
No, that's the point, Spurs. You're conflating the two. They've said there's other way. There's multiple ways of gaining knowledge, and yes, there are. one of those ways is to use the scientific method to gain scientific knowledge of something, a cause and effect relationship. That is exclusive to science, cause and effect.
Yeah, but why? Why?
But not everything is cause and effect based.
You're not listening to them.
That doesn't preclude the use of other forms of logic or inference to gain knowledge. But if you want to have a cause and effect relationship, then we have the scientific method. And to relate to the first part, it was something that was developed philosophically over hundreds of years to give us a solid method that agreed on to move forward of what we could call science. I suppose we could dig out that history, but it's there.
Don't need to.
Just before you do, hold on, stop. I just want to add something to what Adam said. I'm really sorry to interrupt. So, yes, that is correct. Adam's right. Its roots are in philosophy. However, despite its roots being in philosophy or being developed by philosophers, the method itself is empirical. It's not philosophical. The method itself is empirical.
Yeah.
Somebody's echoing real bad, dude.
Is it me? I don't know.
Probably.
There's one other thing, Spurs. The title of this show you're going on, is that not just symptomatic and show them, once again, kind of assuming their outcome?
What, agree to disagree?
Yeah. In fact, that's subjective. That is the antithesis of science. That's subjective. It's not objective. This is an agree or disagree genre. This is not our favorite colors, our favorite running backs, favorite ice creams, how you feel. No, it's empiric. Did you hear what Nathan said? It's empirical, meaning it's observable, testable, repeatable, and falsifiable. That's what empirical means. That summarizes the scientific method. It's
I'm not arguing that, John.
It's just simple logic, dude.
John, but I'm not arguing that. Come on, I'm not arguing that. They're saying, because Adam's just said that we can acquire knowledge outside of science, but they are calling that science. They're calling astronomy science.
That's not knowledge. They're not acquiring knowledge. Astronomy's masquerading.
Yeah, hold on. Just one second. Spurs. That's got a definition too. That's called pseudoscience. So a declaration of science where there has not been an application of the scientific method is by definition pseudoscience.
Why?
Because they haven't gone through the scientific method.
That's the definition of it, man. Pseudoscience.
Not because we say so.
Not gone through scientific method.
No. We're not just saying so. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Paleontology, archaeology, geology, evolutionary biology, anthropology, theoretical physics, astronomy, cosmology, and astrophysics. All of those are pseudosciences. Why? Because they pretend to be science and they can't follow the scientific method. Over.
Agree. No. Well, hold on. Okay, so these guys now. Well, I don't know, but let's find out. So because Adam just said we can know things without the scientific method, right?
Yeah.
Oh, listen. So if we now have knowledge without the scientific method, why isn't that science?
Because oh my God.
You see,
don't
blame me. I'm
Shut up!
Sorry.
Some things are what is questions. What is questions do not enter the scientific method. Voila.
That's not what I'm asking.
Yes,
it Adam is saying that we can acquire knowledge by not using science, but they have this knowledge, and then the ballers would say, well, this is science because
that's what you just said. That's why he's just given the explanation. You're saying that's not what I'm saying. He's given the explanation. I've explained that that's very specifically defined as pseudoscience. We've given you the explanation as why, and you're saying that's not what you're saying. They'll say we don't need to use the scientific method when they say science, but they'll still call it science. Well, that by definition is pseudoscience.
Let me try and explain it another way. So knowledge, we know something, right? We know something to be true. Now, you're saying this is not science, but we still know it to be true.
Yes.
They would call that science because we now have acquired knowledge, information.
It's not natural science. That's the problem. That's where you're getting screwed up.
If we know something about the natural world, Like I'm just give an example of Mr. Scott's version where he observes something, he has a hypothesis. I know it's silly, but he has a hypothesis. He now says he knows something after observing it again. Why does he now not have the knowledge?
But you're talking about somebody who detailed how the science. He doesn't even think it exists, and then detailed how it doesn't work.
And let me,
the thing he just said doesn't exist.
Sure. Can I just break down an example of that for Spurs? So you're out wandering wherever this may occur, and you happen to see a plume of flame come out of a crack in the ground, right? Just poof, big plume of flame. And you sit there for 10 minutes, and you follow Mr. Scott's method. You just sit there, and it happens again. You go, okay, it happened again. So then you come up with what he's calling a hypothesis, actually a just so story. And then based on having seen it twice, and a just so story, called a hypothesis because it's a magical word that implies empiricism, he'll tell you why it happened. Now, if you put that phenomena through the scientific method, you'd establish empirically the cause of the effect if you validated your hypothesis. So the most important detail that was went through early, and you did listen to it, was the testable bit. So when it's repeatable and testable, you're contextually talking about science. Testable meaning the actualization of hypotheses. Well, why would it need to be actualized if it already gave you the answer? Well, it's because that's the testing of your supposition. A hypothesis, when he says, oh, well, you watch something, you watch it again, it's repeated, and then you form a hypothesis. Well, a hypothesis is a supposition yet to be tested. So repeatable, well, that's bollocks, without having the testing bit. And what are you testing? Well, you're testing your supposition of cause. Does it cause it or not? And at the end of that testing, you're going to either validate that you've got it right, you've got the cause of the effect, or validate that what you assume caused the effect was wrong. The null's validated, hence the empiricism. But a hypothesis, my point here, is when he says, observe again, formulate a hypothesis. Well, that's a supposition.
No, he didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that. He said hypothesis.
Hold on, Spurs. Hypothesis. He said observation. Make a hypothesis, and then scientific observation.
Yeah.
Again. I guess that means with goggles.
No, but I was going to say, if he's now we could have to define test, because if he says I've went out,
I just did. You weren't listening to me.
I'm just going.
Just
by
listen
what
again,
he
Spurs.
could possibly
Please,
say, right?
please. I'm going to get irritated quickly.
I know.
Show's
You're
about
getting angry.
Spurs.
I'm not
Spurs. That means stop talking, not babble constantly.
Go on.
Test when you're contextually talking about science, and he is absolutely, and he uses the word hypothesis. It's a supposition yet to be tested. So it hasn't been tested yet.
Well, who gets paid for this, Nathan?
Huh?
What is that?
That's what they're going to say, aren't they? Who gets paid for finding out whether their knowledge is true or not?
Yeah, it's an outrage. Yeah, I'm penniless and they're getting paid to make up stories. Isn't it an outrage? No, I don't care.
Well, the point is that they're able to show knowledge without this method and get paid for it.
Actually, God, no, I can't let this fly. That's got to be corrected. Actually, I do care. Smash the super chat. It's really important.
Okay.
What knowledge have they shown? Spurs?
Hold on a second. Have Spurs give us an example of the knowledge.
Okay, so they want information about, their celestial bodies in the sky. Will they appear when they should appear? They make predictions. They hypothesize that if the size is this size,
wrong.
What?
You're wrong already. It's not. How many times I tell you the other day? Spurs, cause and effect. Cause and effect. Spurs.
Yeah, I get that.
Cause
But remember,
and effect, and only cause and effect. Thank you.
See, I'm not arguing with that. This is
Spurs,
not.
when they're looking at the stars, all they're doing is recognizing a pattern and writing it down and telling you when this pattern is going to happen again. They're not scientifically validating anything. They're not trying to figure out cause and effect. They're not doing anything but looking at shit in the sky and giving you a story as to what those things are and what they're doing. That's it.
Chocolate, does science mean scientific method?
Yes.
Yeah.
Only,
why
only
it's
science is only the scientific method. If it's not the scientific method, it's
Well,
not
if it's
science.
not, then why are they calling it science?
Hold on,
No,
Iggy's.
that's what I'm asking.
Hold
That's what
on,
I'm trying to find
hold
out. I'm
on.
only asking a
Hold,
simple question.
Spurs.
Don't attack me.
Spurs, I'm not attacking you. I just want to be able to speak unimpeded. We're talking about natural science. That was clarified also for you earlier by QE. When we're dealing with the physical and natural world, and in this instance, the stars would fall under that category as natural phenomena. So therefore, it does fall under the natural sciences, and that is the scientific method only. That is science.
All right, let's move on to who can use science. Because remember, these guys are being paid. What gives us the right to apply this method?
No right. It's just a method. It's not political. Stop. It's not about rights. Anybody can apply this method. It's just a method. If you choose to apply the method, that's up to you. You can do it in your front room if you've got a phenomena observed in nature that you want to study, and you just put it through the methods. That's it.
Nathan, what about the peer review? How do you validate that what you've just done is correct?
Part of the method. Systematic experimentation. Observe natural phenomena. Spurs! Spurs! I don't want you interrupting me after 10 seconds. If that. It's part of the method. Number 1, observe natural phenomena. Number 2, formulate hypothesis. That's your supposition yet to be tested. Then test the hypothesis. Systematically. That means more than once by multiple parties following the same process, so that you can validate that it's not just a one-off accident or you did something wrong in your actual methodology when actualizing your hypothesis. So systematic experimentation is part of the method.
Yeah, who? I'm asking, is it you that does it over and over again?
Anybody. It's a method.
To speak to me about... Nick, let me finish my question.
You said who? And I've told you twice. Anybody.
Not even finished. I'm trying to give you the full question so you can get the full frame of what I'm trying to say. So,
go ahead.
Now I forgot my point now.
Go on, then I'll round out for the after show. Go on.
I forgot my point now, but go on, I forgot my point.
Well, with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you watching live. However, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. A massive thank you, again, to all of you in the live audience and Discord and G+ for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Spurs is ace.
More than 1.22 times the square root. Yeah, I've said observer. Of observer height. So you can. That's not science. But I know that.
So you have knowledge now.
Yeah, but the knowledge didn't come from science, did it?
I'm not arguing that. I'm saying that you have knowledge now, but you've acquired knowledge in the same way that the scientific method has given knowledge.
Not really.
I've not used the scientific method at all.
No. The outcome is that you now have so you have knowledge. You both. So whether you use the method or not, you still have knowledge.
Yeah, but that was the point. You were saying you couldn't acquire knowledge without the scientific.
No. So knowledge is science, Adam. Knowledge is science. Science is knowledge. Gnosis, right?
No.
Yes, that's where science. The root is gnosis, knowledge. But like I say, but if you're talking inside the natural world, then yeah, the method. I'm not arguing that. I was just getting you guys to be clear out there about how these things work, because I hope they were listening, right? So they can prepare, because they were moaning the other day that we don't give them the opportunity to hear our arguments on our side. So we kind of ambushed
They're the
them.
ones who asserted they have all this science.
What did you just say? What did you just say? We don't give them the opportunity to hear their... It's the standard rhetoric. Are they having us on? We don't give them a chance to hear their argument.
Our side. So when we ambush them with like the Black Swan or something, like what's his face, the PhD guy, he didn't realize what that was all about. So they're just saying, oh, you know, in a real debate, we would have give them an opportunity to look at that. Just like
in a textbook.
Yeah,
I know, but yeah.
Yeah, let me get it straight. The Globe side, who have the entire Western world behind their argument, are bleating about how unfair it is that they're not getting to present their arguments, or we're not presenting our demolitions with enough advance notice for them to claim to have debunked it. Is that what they're moaning about, Spurs?
Yeah, because I feel that like they're not prepared. Like you might hear Jem say, "Oh, well, that no one's," and that's kind of trickled through now. Is that the regular people, even the PhDs now, are not prepared for the flat Earth arguments.
We haven't developed this argument.
Hold on, whose fault is that?
Yeah. Hold on, I want to go on, Chocolate. I can sense the same exasperation I'm feeling right now. Go ahead, Chocolate.
Whose fault is that? They have not. Why are they stepping into a flat Earth debate if they're not ready for a flat Earth debate? I don't understand.
The PhD.
They don't know about the Black Swan. The Black Swan's been out since January.
Listen, the PhD.
Now they're just scrambling to try to come up with an excuse. Are you kidding, Spurs? Come on, man.
And they're trying to make you doubt what science is.
Usually in a debate, you kind of like, we know their argument inside out, don't we? But they don't really know our arguments.
Yeah, that's right. But you rumpused Adam. Adam was talking.
I didn't hear. Sorry, Adam.
No, well, that's just
my bad, Adam.
No, we both take time. Chocolate makes a change, doesn't it? I mean, it's normally me over you. I was saying, there isn't, if they're saying they haven't had the opportunity to hear our argument, it's not hidden. Fundamentally, it's not something we've invented like what they're doing. We've just gone to the mainstream and took the definition of science. Yeah, that's that. It's there for them to report. They don't need to hear Nathan's show or listen in or get a heads up on what we're going to cite. Yeah?
No, I mean, I think that.
Hang on, Spurs. Take a break for a minute, Adam. Let me ask you a question. In order to get a PhD, how much discipline and study do you have to do in that field?
8 years.
Okay, so that's not enough preparation.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah,
They gotta study this crap for 8 years.
Well, no,
they're now claiming.
No, you have to know. Okay, bachelor's, a BS, MS, and then a PhD goes in that order for the most part, except medical doctors. That's another subject. But you got bullshit, more shit, and then piled higher and deeper, like I told you. Now, when you go from bachelor's, it's a big difference between a master's and a PhD. Remember, we went over this one day, right? A PhD's focus is so, how you want to say, it's so small and so tight in that discipline, right? That most of the time, if you go outside what their thesis was, which was absolute jokes, just look at theses. There's theses. There, no experiments, right? For the most part. I know I'm broad brushing here, but take a look at these theses, right? They're a joke. So if you take a PhD outside his thesis, he's blind as a bat for the most part. The ones you got to be careful of are the master's degrees, right? That's more impressive to me. And then there's different types of knowledge. Remember, PhDs, they're offering new knowledge in a specific subject area within that discipline, whereas a master's degree is more of a demonstrated knowledge of already existing knowledge in that subject area. Follow?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
Well, isn't that what
I'd like to
Tony Purcell?
Just 1 second.
Hang on.
I've been waiting for a really long time. But okay.
Go ahead, Rebel.
So when Spurs mentioning about different ways of acquiring knowledge, I agree with it, but I think probably the difference is the knowledge of what. I think the science is tasked with the knowledge or elucidated knowledge of the cause, right? Whereas
You
there's
have
other
to have
ways to acquire
the
knowledge.
independent variable.
Spurs. I've cleared the airwaves for Rebel. And now Discord rumpusing the hangout.
That was a good clarification. That was a good clarification. Go ahead.
1 second. Just 1 second. I just want Rebel to actually finish what he was saying. It's about elucidation of cause. Right, go ahead, Rebel.
Yeah, that's acquiring one type of knowledge. Another type of knowledge you can acquire is establishing patterns. And that's not science. That lays outside science. That's not cause and effect. Right? So there's many different types of, realms of knowledge. And the science exclusively, bothered with cause and effect. That's the type of knowledge. So yes, you're right, but you need to be specific about type of knowledge you're after. If you're after cause and effect, that's science. If you're after recognizing patterns, that's not science. Exactly. A great example would be pattern of solar eclipses, right? Known for thousands of years, known as Solar cycles. That's not science, but yet they predict eclipses down to an hour. But that's not science.
That's not a prediction. See, that's a problem.
But I disagree as well, though, because the pattern, if you're not getting the same cause, then you disagree.
There is no cause in that.
No.
You don't have a cause, man.
No. If you find the cause to the effect, and then if it's not repeated, you need that pattern. You need the same thing over and over and over again.
No, that's not the pattern he's talking about.
Okay.
No, he's talking about. He was okay for a little bit. He's going off the edge a little bit because as soon as you say prediction, then I'm going to be all over you like a fly on dung. You can't, when you say prediction, that has a very specific meaning. A scientific prediction is the hypothesis. So don't say prediction. It's not a prediction. Stick with, they're just following patterns and regularities, right?
Like a frequency.
Like the second law of thermodynamics. It doesn't go through the scientific method. Who's talking?
Me and Rebel, sorry.
The second law of thermodynamics, like I said, is a natural law. Natural laws do not go through the scientific method. They are not cause and effect motifs. They are the whats and the ises. They just are.
No, John, it's not enough. It's not enough, John. I'm sorry. So go through. Well, let me explain. So you're saying this is where the confusion comes in with the ball earther. So you're saying prediction. So what should go through the mind in the hypothesis? So you've got the phenomenon. Now you're hypothesizing. So what's in the person's mind? Are they just going prediction, or what are they looking for? What's going on?
The cause. The bloody cause. They're looking for the cause.
Do you see what you just
You're
did?
gonna have a presumed cause, man.
Hello.
Try to manipulate.
The cause. That's what they're looking for. They're looking at a phenomena, and you're saying, what do they hypothesize about? Well, it's as simple as them looking at something happening and going, I wonder what causes that.
Spurs, what you just did was you went back to psychology. You're wondering what they think the cause is rather than explaining to them what science is, which is study of cause and effect. And you're thinking, well, what do they mean by cause? Maybe I could. And so you're into how they think instead of teaching them the exactness of what the science is.
If John is saying they should focus solely on prediction, okay?
John just told you something about prediction. Repeat what John said about prediction.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to clarify so the globe earthers
just repeat what
John
said.
In your hypothesis, you're going to have your presumed cause, which you're going to have to plan on manipulating in order to find out the cause to your effect.
No. You're going to have to stop.
But if you don't even plan on experimenting and actually manipulating this independent variable, you don't even have a real hypothesis.
Right. So you're going to have to just try and work with me slightly, because when they say hypothesis, remember, they're saying that they think of something. Something is happening, an idea.
That's not a hypothesis.
This is what I'm saying, John. This is my point. This is what I'm trying to say to you. When you say prediction, you need to be clear, nail it down, that it's not just a thought, not just an idea. That's correct. Yes.
Hold on. There's a quote. Hold on. Just one sec, guys. Hello. QE. Right. While this is going on, there's a quote where it's specifically someone detailing the mistaking of a hypothesis for the explanation. Do you know what quote I'm talking about?
Yes.
Is there any chance you could
Common mistakes in applying the scientific method from the University of Rochester physics labs. The most fundamental error is to mistake the hypothesis for an explanation of a phenomena without performing experimental tests. Sometimes common sense and logic tempt us into believing that no test is needed. There are numerous examples of this during the Greek philosophers to the present day.
Perfect. Basically, just to round out Spurs, it's taking the I think this causes that and turning I think into it causes that.
Right.
Without the test.
Right. That's the fundamental. So again, this is why I said this is perfect. So this is why I'm saying, what should the person be thinking? Say that again, Nathan, because this is what they're not getting. What should be in the mind is not what is, but what. Say it again. Say it again.
It's rather than saying, "Here's a phenomena. I think this causes it," and then taking that I think and turning it into a just so story. This does cause that. So if I formulate a hypothesis in most basic form, if A, that's my presumed cause, then B, that's the effect. Yeah? Now, at this point, it's just a supposition. If A, it might not be A, but if A, then B. Now, if I take that at that point and take away the if and just say A, therefore B, I've turned a hypothesis which was a supposition into a just so story. And that's precisely what they do. They observe something happening and then say, I'm going to formulate a quote unquote hypothesis. But what they actually formulate is a just so story.
The only way they can get to taking away that if is experiment.
So you're saying they can start with if they have an experiment?
No, they have to start with the dependent variable. They have to observe a natural phenomena. It has to be natural, right?
I get it. I'm just clearing up because remember, the mind of a ball earther is very, very confused in this day and age.
Well, it's filled with bong resin.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Spurs.
Psychology.
All right. Anyway, but that's very good, guys. That's what we're looking for because they don't understand how to think. They're not thinking in the right way. And
God, I could kill you. You were doing so well. What do you mean they're not? You're going to educate them in right think? Bloody, how dare you? You bloody flat Earth evangelist! You bring us all down. You're giving us a bad name. You don't dictate how they think. Disseminate the information as much as you like, but how they think is their bag, not yours.
Yeah, well, that's just in the office when they come and see me. We can decide that, but not out there in the public. Yeah, we're just letting them know what time it is.
When they're on your couch, that's what it is, right?
Yeah, after all of that, because they are going to need to, they're going to need something to get through this, right? Like a talk.
It's real simple, Spurs, man. These guys, they just want to be able to call anything they want science. Right, that's why M. Scott Veach says, we don't need scientific method, right? Because they just want to be able to look at stuff in the sky and say, look, we're looking at stuff, we'll tell you what it is, we know what it is, and it's science. Don't worry about hypothesis, because obviously we can't do a scientific experiment on anything in the sky, so we'll just tell you it's science, and you just deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's why I do spend time with them to ask, because again, I spend time with them to ask them, okay, let's walk through your method and let's really see if we can find out the truth. And like you've just said, it's just, Nathan just said, and you've just said, it's just those story. They could never, ever confirm. Today, again, he said, he gave another method. I'm going to upload that tomorrow. But he's got another way. So we're getting out different ways, and you're going to love this way. Let's get it out now. So his way was something like, I'm probably going to butcher it now. So I've got it recorded, but it was something like, if he wants to know something with knowledge. So he says, observation, hypothesis,
and then scientific observation.
No. He said hypothesis again for something, and then he said, but this is what he said. I mean, I probably butchers a little bit, but he said to finally get the conclusion. He said the witness So we're talking about the vacuum of space, basically. I said, how do you have the vacuum with the container? He said, oh, we see it, we look at it, we observe it, we hypothesize, then we send someone up there to confirm it, and that's how we have the knowledge now that it's true. So he said, that's another way. You're going to love this. You're going to love this. I'm going to share tomorrow. But these are the methods that these guys are.
Scientific method. There's only one. You can't get around it. It has basically 3 steps. Now, some have 4, some have 5, some have 6, some have 7. Basically, those other steps are admin or logistical, but you can't get around these 3. You ready? Observe a phenomenon. That's where you get your dependent variable from. Then you have the hypothesis. That's where you place the presumed cause, your presumed cause, the independent variable in the hypothesis. And then you have the experiment where you take that hypothesis and you add control or constants to that. That's it. That's the scientific method right there. If it doesn't have those 3, it's not science.
Okay, so one final point, John, Nathan, that we need to get them way of thinking. They don't seem to understand. Manipulating the variable. How do you control the variable to the effect? So they don't understand how you're controlling and manipulating. What does it mean? Because we had the PhD guys say you turn off, turn on. Some are saying that you measure in length, shorter or closer, nearer. Clear it up, guys. I mean, I understand. Obviously, you have to vary that independent variable, but how are we manipulating the independent variable?
Well, first you have to be able to, first of all, this is something they seem to still have problems with. You got to figure out, is your independent variable something that you can manipulate? Right? Because it's got to have some sort of physicality, right?
Give example, Chocolate. Example.
Hold on,
so let's say Anthony's egg. How did he vary the cause?
Hold on 1 second, Spurs.
What's going on here?
Spurs. So I'm going to butcher this, but QE's here if I do. So if you're going to classify something as being an independent variable, it's got to fit at least 3 criteria. These minimum, right? Number 1, it must be real. So therefore, things like conceptual pseudo-Riemannian force space, definitely not capable of manipulation. Time, exactly. So number 1, it's got to be real. Number 2, it must be capable of being varied and manipulated by the researcher. So if you take, for example, figuring out the cause of boiling water, you would be varying and manipulating heat as your presumed cause of the effect. It must be capable of variation and manipulation by the researcher. So that's number 2. Number 1, it must be real. Number 2, it must be capable of variation and manipulation by the researcher. Number 3, ipso facto, by default, it is your presumed cause of the effect. Singular, on its own, independent. 1, the presumed cause of the phenomena observed. So I'm just going to re-stress those 3 points so you understand precisely what you must have as a characteristic trait to be an independent variable. Number 1, you must be real. Number 2, you must be capable of being varied and manipulated by a researcher. And number 3, you are immediately invoked as the presumed cause of the effect in the hypothesis. That's it.
No, I'm not. No, but again, how? You didn't tell me how. How do you manipulate it?
Just
how?
depends.
What are you doing?
Depends on what it is.
It depends on what your independent variable would be, man.
No, well, you see, this is it now. How? This is the question.
What do you mean, how?
Okay, let me tell you. Don't say how 5 more times. So in my example, I used boiling water as the phenomena, heat as the independent variable. How would you vary and manipulate heat, Spurs?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking. How?
You'd start a little fire. So it's
6
Spurs, don't play this game where you don't know how to produce heat. So you'd start a little fire, right?
But again, I know, but I'm just saying, out there, make it clear. This is where the confusion comes from.
I am.
How are you manipulating?
And I'm telling you, I am making it clear. Depending on what the phenomena is, and obviously, therefore, depending on what your supposition of cause is, will depend entirely on what can be potentially varied. Now, you're saying, Spurs, for God's sake! Shut up! When I'm talking, don't just start talking through me.
He's not satisfied.
Spurs. So, if in the scenario when you've got a globe head debating with you, they want to claim cause as something like gravity, ask them or ask yourself prior to asking them, does this thing they are claiming as an independent variable, therefore cause of an effect, does it have physicality? Can I physically vary it? So when I say heat, what should go through your mind is heat real? Yep, heat's definitely real. Can I vary it? Yes, I can. Can it be considered the cause of this effect, i.e. an independent variable? Yes, it can. Therefore, it qualifies as an independent variable. If, however, they say gravity, you go, can I physically manipulate space-time? No. Therefore, cannot qualify as an independent variable, presume cause of an effect in a hypothesis. So if you understand what can be an independent variable, you can question the varying and manipulating bit yourself. Can I vary heat? He's claiming heat's the independent variable in this specific setting. Other things can be causes of effects. Yeah, there are other independent variables available.
Right, so that's what I'm asking. I need the full scale, the full spectrum. You said there's different ways, so that's we know what other independent variable. How are you manipulating other or anyone? Because if you're saying just this, they're going to say, well, we're manipulating. I mean, how you turned so in a nutshell, you turn the heat down.
Okay, you keep asking and then babbling on incessantly after you've asked the question. So you need another example. So scurvy, lack of vitamin C being the cause. How do you think, is vitamin C real? Yes. Can I vary the amount of vitamin C? Yes. Can I consider the cause of the effect? Yes. So how would you vary vitamin C intake in a human being? Can you consider and conceive how that thing can be varied? Yes, you can. Therefore, definitely considered an independent variable. Back to gravity.
Biology, right?
But it's just an experiment in the natural
It's
world.
biochemistry, but that's fine. What's the problem?
Biology, yeah.
Yes, biochemistry, to be exact.
This all falls under physics, though. Spurs.
That is natural and
This
physical.
is what happens when you hang out with ballers.
Yeah, you become them. So this is all under the umbrella of physics, all dealing with the physical and natural world. It's all under the same umbrella, Spurs.
Okay. Yeah, so that was the final question I had. But not. I mean, again, so you're saying varying is with the heat, you're turning it up and down.
Oh my gosh, Spurs! You don't.
No, it's okay.
You brought up.
Guys,
Anthony's
do you mind?
experiment.
Hello? Let him summarise. Don't mind. Go ahead, Spurs.
Yeah. So you got the heat, you turn it up and down. So you're varying the heat. So your idea is to turn it up and down, not to turn it off and on.
It's varying, manipulating. Manipulating the heat would be turning it on or increasing it if it's got a valve and you've got gas controlling it. Yeah, just varying it and manipulating it means just that.
Yeah, I know.
Just being able to turn it off or on.
So
hang on,
and turning it up and down. And being able to manipulate it.
So if they were to say,
hold on, Spurs, hold on. Tenth's desperately trying to get a word in. Go on, Tenth.
Thank you, Spurs. If you're saying that your presumed cause is heat, you would have to turn it on.
Turn the heat on. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but then again, when you say hold on a second, if you say heat, I mean heat relative, isn't it? Right?
Spurs, you know what heat is, right?
Yeah, but again, that's relative. The heat.
Relative to what?
That's what I mean.
No.
Oh God.
To what? To who?
Sorry,
To what?
Spurs. Just acknowledge the bits that are important. How to qualify whether or not something's an independent variable or qualification as an independent variable. Do you understand that bit?
Yes, because heat might be not heat, cold to somebody else.
What are you talking about? If
Just
you
an example.
think-
Just an example.
No,
we
no
specify this is
example.
heat at this rate, this much, this number, and then someone could say, "Well, that's not hot. That's not heat. I don't feel any heat. To me, that's cold." So we can say cold is the cause.
would making it warmer than whatever your cause or your dependent variable be, would that help you out?
But that's my point, though. That's what I said earlier on, Chocolate. To who? Who's going to peer review this? To you, this is
to who? To the experiment. The experiment's not a who.
Peer review heat?
No.
Hold on. No, we got to that earlier. That was a. Hold on. That's a loose end. Spurs. Oh, God, I can never get in if Spurs is jabbering. Spurs, I don't mind that you brought that up as a loose end that didn't get addressed on this show, so that will be the last point. So you mentioned peer review specifically and how that ties in with an adherence to the scientific method, with systematic experimentation being the validation that's incorporated within the method. But then you went on to question how that fits in with peer review. Do you want to reiterate your question, or do you want me to just rip apart peer review?
I'm getting a little bit tired now. But the idea is when you've done an experiment, you validated it yourself. You're like satisfied. Okay, I know this is the cause. How do we know that you did it correct?
Yeah, back to.
How do I know you got tired?
Back to the systematic bit.
Fatigued.
I put salt in water with an egg, and show it to Anthony, and tell him all about my hypothesis that I formulated long before QE and Sleeping Warrior did, and then he goes forth to copy me because it was my idea and my experiment, and validate my experiment systematically by doing it again. So that's how Sleeping Warrior and Quantum Eraser validated Nathan Oakley's experiment. Make sense?
That's peer review. Is that peer review?
No! That's systematic experimentation.
That's your peers reviewing what you've done.
No, it's not. It's systematic experimentation. Peer review is not that.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I'm just asking questions, remember. I don't know why people get so angry over questions.
That's part of the...
questions.
We love you, bro, but you said, like you said, you wanted to spar a little bit before you got in the ring. Well, sometimes you get hit when you spar. That's just what happens.
Yeah, tonight, again, we're going to hit them with the scientific method. They're going to have to be able to demonstrate all of their claims.
You have to understand what peer review. 1 second before he goes. You got to understand what peer review is, right? Because I don't think you understand what that is. First of all, peer review has nothing to do whatsoever with the scientific method, because that's subjective, even on its generalized face. But peer review, when they're... Am I echoing?
I don't know. I'll mute anyway.
Right. But peer review, what we're talking about, what they are talking about, they don't even know that they're talking about it because they don't know what it is either. Peer review, what happens at these journals, at these institutions, in each discipline, they have people, right, that are so-called experts in their fields, and they're called referees. And what they do is they just sit in a smoke-filled room with fucking coffee breath, and they wait for these papers to come in. They're just looking at papers. All they have is a highlighter, right? And they go through this, whatever it may be, right? And whatever they highlight, what they do is they send it to the editor. They're talking to the editor saying, are we going to publish this? And if the editor says, yay, nay, here's some corrections, send this back, have them make the corrections, then they send it back in. Then the peer reviews tell the editor, hey, this is good to go. And then the editor makes the final call for publishing. That's peer review. Follow?
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Perfect. With that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 Premium Stream or Nathan Oakley Premium Stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!